So we're going to have a look at how we fit grommets or eyelets, whatever you want to call them, using a rivet press. So what you will need is a set of dies that are the appropriate size for the grommets that you're using. In this instance, we're using 12mm, so these are 12mm grommet dies, and you can see I've used a Sharpie pen to put on the sides of them what they are, simply because some of these things are really difficult to recognize once you've had them once. So this part, which has got no threading on the bottom, goes into the bottom part of your press, and it literally just slots in, and the top part screws into the top half. So that's my dies all set. Now the next part is what you want it to end up with. This is a grommet that's been fitted with the press, and this is the front. These are cheap grommets, has to be said. This is the front and this is the back. There are no sharp edges. If you use hand tools, and you can use hand tools, sometimes they don't look quite as tidy on the back as they do if they're fitted with a press. You get an even pressure on them when you use a press. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So the first thing you need to do is cut a hole. Now I use this. This top edge is sharp, the bottom edge is not. I use that with a hammer on a cutting board. Don't do it on your main cutting mat because you will mark your cutting mat quite badly. This is, I'm using 12mm grommets, and this is a 10mm cutter, because you need the cut hole to be nice and snug around your grommet. You don't need lots of excess space around the grommet, otherwise the fabric will pull away. Now I also have one of these, which is much the same thing, but it's just taller. Again, you put it on and you whack it with a hammer. Now I'm not going to actually do that to camera, because when I do, it messes with the sound on my camera, and everything flies all over the place. My camera reverberates and it just looks like I've fallen over. So I've already done that, and I'm doing this on a spare piece of faux leather. What I would say is, if you're using fabric, you must make sure that both pieces of fabric, both the inside and the outside, are well interfaced. You must use a piece of Decaville light inside to give the whole thing structure. If you don't have Decaville light, this is a bag for life, which is the sort of thing that you get in your local supermarket, or the big blue IKEA bags. They're made of the really strong plastic stuff that's it's very, very thin, as you can see. You're not going to see this from once the bag's made, but it's really stable. So we have two parts for our grommet. We have the top part, which has the sort of lip on it, and the bottom part. And the bottom part, this is the washer. On most grommets, certainly on all the ones that I've got, is slightly concave on one side, so it's kind of got a bowl on one side. And what we do is we fit that bottom part of the grommet, that washer, into the bottom part of it just sits nicely into the bottom part of the die. We take the top part and we pop it through the hole, and it should be a nice snug fit. Sometimes you have to give it a bit of a push to get it through, but we pop it through the hole and it's sitting nicely through there. Then we pop that on top, and you can feel when it's sitting in the right place. Let's just move that around slightly. And then I just keep hold of it with my fingers on either side just to make sure it doesn't pop out. Put pressure on the handle of your press. Give it a push down. Mine always does that, sticks to it. And there we are. That's all fitted. And as you can see, the back there is nice and smooth. There's no nasty sharp edges. And that is a grommet fitted. Now, because our hole was nice and snug, there's no problem with the faux leather pulling out of the sides. If you're using fabric, I would suggest a little bit of fray check around the outside of the hole just to make sure there's no fraying. It's really about making sure that you've stabilised well and having something between the two layers that's really nice and sturdy, be that Decaville or a little bit of Bags for Life, whatever you want to use. Adding things like foam will make it nice and stable, but for this particular bag, the top bit needs to be able to gather, so we don't need foam in there because it just won't gather up once we've got it in. So that's how we fit a grommet using a rivet press.